recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
As cold as a razor blade, as tight as a tourniquet, like the skin on a dying man. I don't want a piece of the world. I want the whole world. I make my own rules because it's much easier that way. Trust me.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of the Snake Pit. And of course, I am joined by the Hall of Famer himself, the master of the DDT, Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake, we're back for another episode, brother.
Yeah, it's cold outside, man. I don't like it.
Even down there in hot Atlanta, it's getting chilly.
Yeah, I got in the 20s, man.
Holy smokes. Is that normal down there?
No.
It can't be. Well, look, it's been colder than a witch's tit up here in Pittsburgh for a while, and I think it's fixing to get a little bit colder. So, man, let's settle in for the winter, right? You're done traveling till what, January?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little traveling this week. Go out to L.A., do a little work for the BBC, do some voiceover work. I'm really excited about doing it, you know. It's something I've been wanting to get into for a long time, just never got the opportunity. But these people finally... They want me.
All right, man. Now, can you reveal any of the details behind it?
I can't talk about what the show's about.
Okay. Well, stay tuned, folks. I'm sure we'll be getting updates on both the Snake Pit social media and Jake's social media. So I cannot wait to talk about that. And I can't wait to talk about what we're doing this week. We're going to continue the discussion about your time in WCCW with our second and final installment on the subject. And I want to give a big shout out to Andrew Hermes, who compiled all the research for this episode. He also does research for Arn's podcast, and he's a great follow on social. Check him out at 30-Year Fan on X. Before we get going, too, I also wanted to mention that we have something really special happening on YouTube this week. We are wrapping up our discussion about WCCW because the worldwide debut of the Iron Claw is just days away, and it seems like a good time to tell Jake's story. Well, we are also telling another side of the story with someone Jake worked with and helped to develop in WCCW, Baby Doll, Nicola Roberts. I spoke with her about this period of time, and we are releasing that conversation as a YouTube exclusive full episode, which will be available this Friday as this podcast is dropping. She was brand new to working as a talent in wrestling at this time, and she has some absolutely must-hear stories. So get over there and get subscribed right now so you can check it out. It's youtube.com/@snakepitpod. So, Jake, with all that out of the way, you ready to get rolling on this subject?
Why don't we?
Why don't we indeed? So when we left off, yourself, Gino, and Chris had just defeated the Von Erichs for the 6-man tag team titles in the Cotton Bowl after Chris had turned heel and turned his back on the Von Erichs. The titles were created in 1983 with the sole purpose of having somebody or something for the Freebirds and Von Erichs to fight over, but the belts were a really big deal in this territory at the time. As we discussed last time, you were certainly feeling disenchanted when it came to your pay with the company, and the Von Erichs could be a mess at times. But I have to ask, as a guy who just loves the business, and I mean, it respects everything there is about wrestling. Did you feel like it was pretty special to get a title victory over one of the most famous families in Dallas?
It was big. It was big at the time. You know, certainly for the territory, it was the best thing that could have happened. And it was done on the biggest stage, so they really wanted to pop for Chris Adams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wanted to really put it out there. They hoped that he'd be able to carry it for a while.
Well, he did a hell of a job here as a heel. I mean, even just now watching back some of this footage, like you can see the crazy heat that he's getting. And yeah, I mean, like putting those belts on you guys here is like, we should not understate that. It's a really big deal in this territory to get those 6-man tag team titles, especially against the Von Erich. So pretty awesome spot to be in.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's an awesome spot, but from what you were telling me, it's like the amount of pay you're receiving does not exactly correlate with the spot that you are on the card, right?
Yeah, I couldn't live on what they were paying me.
I think that you revealed before that it comes in at something like maybe an average of like $700 a week. And a lot of people are going to hear that and say like, "Hey, $700 a week, like that's a living wage, like that's pretty good." Let's keep in context here. Jake is coming from Georgia where he was making great money, Mid-South prior where he was making great money. Like $700 a week for a wrestler is not incredible money based on context, right, Jake?
Absolutely not. You take the 700 and you take 200 or 300 off the top just for travel expenses.
Yeah, I mean, so there's 200 gone. You've got a wife and children at this time. It's like, man, that's a lot of responsibility on $500 or so per week. It's just not gonna cut it, right?
No, it wasn't cutting it at all, man.
Well, another big happening here in November is that Kerry Von Erich is going to face Ric Flair inside of a steel cage as Flair defends the NWA title. And this is coming, of course, after earlier in the year, Kerry defeated Ric for the championship at the David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions in Dallas before dropping the belt back to Flair less than 20 days after. Flair said that David was the best worker of the Von Erichs, Jake. I know that he had passed away months before you came to Dallas, but did you ever get to meet David Von Erich?
Yes, it did. He was certainly the best one out of the bunch as far as wrestling talent goes.
It's interesting hearing that because you look at them, in their 8x10s, and like the guy who really comes off the screen or comes off the page is Kerry Von Erich. I mean, he's a handsome guy. He's in unbelievable shape. So it's like you look at him and it's like, hey, there's the star. But not only yourself, but Ric Flair, and I've heard many others say like, nope, the really talented one was David.
Yeah, absolutely. He knew what he was doing out there, and he carried himself really well. And he was just a pleasure to work with.
Now, you said you had met him, and now you're saying to work with. Did you actually step into the ring with David?
I didn't. I didn't get the opportunity. Damn it.
That is a bummer, but I mean, you being like a seasoned guy who grew up in professional wrestling, you can just watch his matches and say like, okay, whatever it is, this guy's got it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He had it, man. The fans loved him. Hell, everybody loved him, man. He was a good guy.
Man, a shame that he passed away, and like really, it's from based on the research that I was doing, it was like it's kind of hard to say how he passed away. Like some people are saying it's an overdose, some people are saying it's an illness. What have you heard?
I've heard it was an overdose also.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of he said, she said when it comes to the whole situation. So I'm certainly not qualified to speak on the matter, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people have got different opinions, so it's interesting to hear yours. So I've talked to you a bunch, you and a bunch of other guys from your generation about belts, and pretty much unanimously, everybody says the same thing about belts, where it's just another heavy thing that you have to carry in your bag, and it doesn't really mean anything. That being said, it seems like most guys feel differently about the NWA World Title, and Ted DiBiase has actually told me that it's one of his greatest career regrets that he never got to hold that belt. Jake, do you hold that belt in the same regard?
Yeah, I do. I love the NWA and what it stood for.
Now, would you say that that's a regret from your career not getting to hold that title?
Absolutely.
All that being said, why do you think Kerry, or what was your opinion on it when Kerry was awarded that title?
When Kerry was,
Yes, sir.
I was shocked, amazed, uh, and a little worried because you didn't know what Kerry was going to do. You didn't know if he's going to show up and what kind of shape he's going to be in when he got there. And nobody ever accused Kerry of being a great worker. He excited people, but boy, that excitement sometimes was a heavy cost.
So even when he was like straight-minded, you don't feel that his work was really quite up to snuff?
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
What do you think it was about him? I mean, because Kevin Von Erich is kind of considered a great worker. Kerry just kind of didn't have the physicality down, or what?
Well, he had the physicality down and all that, but he he, he reminded me of a 17-year-old.
Okay.
You know, just young and happy and full of fun and not a care in the world.
which would, of course, catch up with him, certainly with a motorcycle accident, which we're going to be talking about soon. It's safe to say that Kerry's short run here with the title was completely due to his reputation of being unreliable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was like a historically short run, less than 20 days with that title. I mean, unheard of back in those days. So pretty crazy that they put the belt on him only to take it so fast.
Well, I'm sure they were worried.
I'm sure they were too. I mean, this guy's representing the NWA as the champion, and you have to rely on him to make all these towns and travel across the United States and Canada. And it's like, man, he might not.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have bet on him.
So Flair is going to go on to work with Gino here in WCCW, which is kind of weird because both guys are heels in Dallas. What do you think was the logic in pairing the two of them together?
For a great wrestling match.
Okay, so it's not heel versus babyface. It's like, let's just see a great match.
Just have a great match.
Was there ever any discussion of putting you with Flair during this time?
No.
It's something I certainly would have loved to have seen, and we actually discussed when you and Flair did meet recently on an Ad Free Show's exclusive episode in Mid-South. So if you guys haven't heard that one yet, go out of your way to check it out. It's from November 1985. Speaking of November, Thanksgiving Star Wars will take place on November 22nd in 1984, and instead of being in the Sportatorium, it's going to take place at the Reunion Arena in Dallas. Jake, any memories of working in Reunion Arena as compared to the fabled Sportatorium?
A lot of empty seats. There was a lot of empty seats.
Would you say that you guys had a lot more success in the Sportatorium?
Well, the Sportatorium was a small venue.
Okay.
You could pack it out fairly easily. But you don't go to some place where you can put 2,500 people and go to some place that you can put 17,000 people in it. So.
I got you. So, like on film, it's like the Sportatorium looks jam-packed to the rafters and looks awesome. But then once you get to Reunion Arena, it's like, maybe not so much with a smaller crowd.
Yeah, you could have shot a shotgun off and not hit anybody.
That's the case here, but we're going to talk about it soon. A little bit down the road, you guys are going to fill that place up. We'll get there in a minute. Jake, interestingly, your partners, Gino and Chris, are both going to be working singles matches at the event. So you've got a new tag team partner as you take on Kerry Von Erich and Iceman Parsons. Let's drop in on the end of this match for our first clip this week.
Rocco Lubich checking. Rocco Lubich. With no weight. Jake the Snake continues to put that pressure on Iceman King Parsons. And the crowd picks up the cry of "Go Ice, go!" And Ice is going. And right through him. And Iceman gets a knee into the lower midsection. And Jake the Snake is ready for his knee double chop. Kiniski coming on. Jake slithers down like a rattler and puts his grasp on Iceman as Kiniski clotheslines Iceman. Kiniski, the Canadian, son of the great Gene Kiniski, former world champion. A neckbreaker by Kiniski. Kiniski want to go in with a knee drop across the neck. 1, 2, but Iceman pulls it out. Iceman tough to handle. Kiniski and Roberts have got it going right now in the corner. 5 minutes gone in this bout. So Kiniski getting some suggestions for Jake the Snake. Fires in. Here comes the Iceman. A miss by Kiniski. Oh, what a left hook by Iceman. A chop. And Jake the Snake comes in. And all mayhem breaks loose. Everybody's after. There goes Ice over the top rope. And now they got Kerry Von Erich, Kiniski, and Jake the Snake. Pounding away on Kerry. And Kerry handles one and the other. It's a fisticuff city right now. And there's a roll up by Iceman. 2, 3, Iceman beats Kiniski. Iceman gets Kaniski, and Kerry Von Erich and Iceman are the winners. There they are, the winners. And here's Mark Lawrence.
All right, Jake.
How about
Well, what did you think of that, watching it back all these years later?
all right?
Not too bad, right?
People were with it.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Iceman kind of started to make his comeback, and then of course Kerry gets in there, I mean, that crowd started to really come unglued, huh?
Oh yeah, it's a shame that Iceman made his own comeback.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if you've been selling like you've been selling, you should make that big hot tag and let the fresh guy come in there and get the big pop.
Oh,
And he's just come out of it and fought back and fucking took over. It killed all the heat.
it's funny. I've watched a ton of wrestling, Jake, and I didn't even put those pieces together as I was watching that comeback. He did. You're right. He should have had it killed the hot tag.
Yeah, he just left it out.
All right, let's hit the pause button real quick to talk about a partner that is near and dear to my heart. I'm talking about AG1, the daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. Guys, before AG1, I used to wake up every morning and I was taking a bunch of multivitamins and supplements, and I hated it. I mean, getting all that stuff was expensive. And then once you're done, swallowing all those pills and vitamins and supplements, you don't even have an appetite for your breakfast anymore. So once I got fed up with that, I was like, okay, maybe I'll try doing a healthy smoothie every single morning. Well, the smoothies tasted good, but you have to go and get all the ingredients, and then it takes time to measure out portions. And then when you're done, it takes even more time to thoroughly clean the blender and make sure that you get underneath all those blades. And it was just eating up so much of my time. I needed a simple, singular solution that would cover all my nutritional bases, would give me more energy through the day, and would give me better gut health, something that would support my immune system, especially with my young daughter coming home from daycare with a bunch of germs on her hands and coughing. And, it's if you've ever had a toddler, you know that once they get home from daycare, they're just like little carrier monkeys. They've got all kinds of germs, and all of a sudden you yourself are getting sick all the time. I needed something to help me, and AG1 was the solution. And after more than a year with that, I can say I've never been happier with my morning routine or felt healthier. AG1 made life easy for me by providing 75 high-quality ingredients that give me key daily nutrients by simply mixing 1 scoop with water. That's it. I drink it. I'm done. More time to spend with my family, more time to get work done, simple cleanup, and the energy and health to tackle every obstacle that gets put my way. It's an easy micro habit that delivers macro results. If you got a family and a budget like I do, I know what your next question is, because it would be my next question. How much does it cost? Well, we're talking about less than $3 a day. My wife every morning is going to the gas station or Starbucks in order to get, some kind of a special coffee or a snack or something like that to get her morning started. Not anymore. She and I are wrestling over the AG1 every morning to see who can get theirs first. And let me say, we both broke our bad habits, and we're saving money on a science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source nutrients with AG1. That is a giant win-win in my house. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Just go to drinkag1.com/snake. That's drinkag1.com/snake, SNAKE. Check it out, guys, and I know that you're going to love it just like I do. Interesting. And look, while we're talking about Iceman Parsons, I've got to ask, he's pretty over with the crowd. Do you have any memories of the guy in general?
No, not really. Not I want to go into.
Okay, so maybe some not so fond memories of Iceman?
Yeah. He later on he came over to Louisiana to the Superdome and was asked to wrestle me, and he refused.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Didn't want to lose.
Do you have any recollection of what year that might have been?
What?
Do you remember what year that might have been? Like 85 maybe?
Yeah, 85.
Okay. And so he's coming into the territory, Mid-South, it's gotta be, and he's coming into the territory. You're one of the hottest heels they have there, and he didn't wanna take a loss to you.
Yeah, didn't want to take a loss.
Did you ever, like, talk to him about it?
Fuck no.
So it's one of those things where after he refuses, you're like, "Okay, fuck this guy," and you just never talk to him again.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's really bizarre kind of behavior, especially for a guy who is, evidently kinda new to that territory.
Yeah, yeah.
Strange. I mean, what about him and his look overall? I mean, do you feel like a missed opportunity for a guy that size with that look with Vince?
He missed it with Vince. Vince would have done something with him.
Yeah, I mean that guy, that look, it feels like he's tailor-made for a bigger territory and action figures and T-shirts and all that kind of thing. Do you think that he had enough under the hood as a performer though to sustain more success?
I'm unsure about that.
We saw that bump that he took on the clothesline from Kiniski, and it was pretty unimpressive.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, I know Gene Kiniski, but his son Kelly is a guy I've never heard of before I started doing research on this one. Do you have any memories of Kelly Kiniski at all?
Oh yeah, Kelly was a good kid, man. He tried his best, man, to make it in wrestling, but he just couldn't do it. He didn't have his father's ways or his ability to work, and he didn't last long.
No, according to my research, he was out of wrestling by 1988, so just 4 years after this, and he is out.
Yeah,
What about his father, Gene Kiniski? You spent a lot of time around him?
I wrestled him.
Did you really?
Yeah,
What was that like?
we did 45 minutes.
That is a hell of a long match.
Yeah, it was.
Would that have been while you were in Calgary?
Yeah, that would have been when I was in British Columbia,
Okay.
West.
Okay. And I mean, 45 minutes with an old timer. How would you say the match went?
I didn't like it at all.
Why is that?
Well, the guy was probably 70 years old.
For real?
Yeah, and he looked 70. I mean, his skin was flappy. I mean, he built like a rail, pale white pasty skin. Yeah, he was a monster. Yeah, right.
I can't believe a dude that's that old and that kind of like thin, frail is going 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't let anybody take that title.
So you put him over too.
Damn right, 2 straight falls. 2 straight.
So it was a best of 3 and you gave him 2 straight.
Yep.
Holy smokes. Safe to say you're walking out of that arena a little bummed out.
Bummed out. The people are cussing me out for doing it. And shortly after there, I left.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned, Chris Adams is in the main event here, continuing the story with Kevin Von Erich. Gino is defending the NWA Texas title against Mike Von Erich. So to me, it's a little bit puzzling not to just put you in a singles match against Kerry, since you guys had been feuding with the Von Erichs. I mean, it's cool that you're teaming up with Kiniski's kid and stuff, but can you think of any reason why they would have gone that route?
I have no idea at all, man.
I figured it was a long shot to ask you all these years later, but it just like jumped off. Like, why not just Jake and Kerry? It just makes more sense.
I probably didn't want to put Jake and Kerry on the card because we would have shown up some people.
Oh, you think that's what was at the
Yeah.
core of it?
Yeah.
See, my first thought was like, okay, maybe like they were afraid that Kerry is going to show up under the influence and they wanted to like mask it in a tag team match.
No.
I don't know. And really, like, how foolish is it? Now you've got to pay 4 guys for 1 match as opposed to paying 2 guys for a match.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Well, the next big show will be Christmas Star Wars, which will also take place at Reunion Arena. And this time, Jake, they fill it up with 20,000 fans in attendance for this event. So we discussed last time that WCCW was in decline, and certainly what we said earlier pointed it out that, they were just unable to fill up the arena. But here they're drawing this massive house. I know you don't likely know any exact numbers, but like, are you getting some kind of a bump or a Christmas payoff, or how would something like that go?
It wasn't much.
Okay, so like maybe like a couple hundred extra or something.
Probably.
And I mean, with 20,000 people coming to Reunion Arena, I don't imagine it's an expensive building to run. I mean, Fritz has got to be making a damn killing.
I don't think so.
You don't think?
Nope.
I mean, maybe they were doing some kind of a Christmas like half off thing, which I've heard that Fritz would do pretty often back in those days.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, at this one, yourself and Gino are going to be taking on Mike Von Erich and Billy Jack Haynes. Let's have a look at how this one is going to end up.
Gino trying to work around to get a good position. And that position is in the corner where Jake the Snake Roberts holds fourth. And Gino pops fourth. Jake the Snake Roberts. Whoa, look out. Billy Haynes exploded on him. And here's Mike Von Erich coming in. And Jake the Snake is a little worried over Mike as he comes rambunctiously out to do battle. Up and over. And Mike causing Jake the Snake to back off. And don't forget, World Class Championship Wrestling will be in Austin this week. Whoa! Gino Hernandez helping Jake the Snake stop, and Mike Von Erich hits the deck. We're right back again. Here's Bill Haynes in, and the big bruiser battles on Gino. Whoa! Mike Von Erich dropped on the top rope. Rocco Libby's trying to keep order. Here's Jake the Snake up. And Bill Haynes and Gino continue to go after it. Mike Von Erich with the claw on Jake the Snake Roberts. Mike Von Erich from nowhere comes up with his father's famous iron claw. We thought Mike probably would learn that someday, but suddenly, here it is for the first time. Mike Von Erich has used the iron claw on Jake the Snake Roberts and using it effectively. Bill Haynes keeping Gino Hernandez away. Mike Von Erich with a count of 3, and he beats Jake the Snake Roberts with the iron claw that he learned from his father and from his brothers. Mike Von Erich comes up with the iron claw of Jake the Snake Roberts, and Mike Von Erich and Bill Haynes are the winners. And we'll be back for more excitement. Right now, let's get Ralph pulling.
The winners in 3 minutes and 48 seconds, Mike Von Erich and Billy Haynes.
All right, so there it is. That's how your Christmas ends with the Iron Claw, Jake.
Merry syphilis.
Merry syphilis.
Yeah, happy gonorrhea.
Man, the Iron Claw, very, very over in Dallas. So I mean, it's a lot like the DDT. I mean, anytime it happens, there's a big reaction. Of course, it's a big part of Fritz's legacy. I mean, objectively, Jake, the Iron Claw as a finish. What do you think?
Well, it's okay as a finisher, but how many people can do it?
Right.
All of a sudden, you got 3 or 4 people doing it. And all the Von Erichs did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, Mike, at his size, to put it on you, and
Yeah, he's not a huge guy, and certainly like he's brand new to pro wrestling here at this time, and it's just it looked weird having him snatch you up like that.
Yeah, it looked real weird. Nobody bought that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, do you feel that the Iron Claw though is something that could still be used in wrestling today?
No,
I don't see it getting over with a modern audience.
no, not at all.
We're going to be sharing that video on social media for our listeners to see, and I actually had to go back and watch it twice because I was shocked to see that when he pulled his hand away from your head, you were bleeding from the claw. So on the second look, I could see you actually getting your blade out of your wrist tape as soon as he locked it on, and then you gigged yourself while his hand was still on your head. Jake, why the blood from the Iron Claw?
It's what they wanted.
Okay, so going into this match, they're like, yeah, so you need to blade whenever he puts the claw on you.
It's like, fuck yeah, all right.
Like, I'm just trying to wrap my like he's squeezing it so hard that it just creates a cut on your head.
Oh yeah, he popped my head like a pimple.
It's pretty strange stuff. Jake, I also have to ask, as I'm looking at it, he's like kind of whirling you around and you're struggling against the claw. Like, how in the hell do you avoid cutting either his hand or going too deep on yourself whenever you're blading
No,
during that?
didn't really care at the time. If his hand had moved, he got cut. That's for sure.
Yeah, and like at one point, it looks like you like almost lose your balance or something. In that hand, I can see you've got the blade there, and your hand kind of comes down. I'm like, Jesus, he's gonna like cut his abdomen.
Yeah,
like man, it was a little reckless out there. Not you, but just like the spot was reckless.
yeah. I should have went ahead and cut his abdomen.
And get a little of your heat back after bleeding from getting grabbed by a 180-pound dude.
Oh yeah, it was real impressive, man.
So look, by the end of this episode, we're gonna do a little bit of discussion about the Von Erichs in general, just to kind of prep everybody for the Iron Claw.
Yeah.
But for right now, let's talk about Billy Jack Haynes. Big, muscular dude. He's gonna find himself in the WWF actually right around the same time as when you debut. What do you remember about Billy?
Billy was a horse, man. He was built like a brick shithouse, man. He had all the muscles he needed, man. But he under the hood, he was out there.
Okay, so like under the hood is in like his wrestling skills, or just him as a dude, maybe a little off.
Him as a human being,
Okay,
he was off.
like how so? Crazy?
Yeah, a little bit. There was, he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. He was more like a butter knife.
Man, it's like you take a look at that guy, like what an 8x10 he's got, not a bad looking dude, super jacked up, and it's like, okay, this guy tailor-made for Vince and what he wants to accomplish in the WWF, and then he only lasts like 2 years there.
Yeah, well, it's because he was, goofy.
Yeah, I've heard this is not the first time I've actually heard that about Billy, and just that he was a little bit off and could be a little bit difficult to deal with behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the final show of the year, which is actually going to take place on New Year's Eve in 1984 in Fort Worth. It's the 6-man tag team titles on the line as yourself, Gino, and Chris defend against Kerry, Kevin, and Mike. Let's have a look at our final clip this week.
Gary Hart wants Adams to calm down as Kerry's still on Jake the Snake. This bout is far from over. We're showing it all that we can here on Championship Sports. Be here in person each week to see it all. There's the leapfrog by Kerry. Look out, it's a clothesline sleeper by Jake Roberts. The Snake trying to put Kerry to sleep. Hernandez with confidence. Adams reaching over. World heavyweight belt sitting on the table. Jake the Snake Roberts with a lock on Kerry Von Erich. Over in the corner, Kerry, does he get a tag? Mike certainly gets a tag on Jake the Snake with a fist. And here we go. Mike Von Erich throws Jake Roberts over. Mike Von Erich with a fist. Jake the Snake with a leapfrog. Takes him down with a DDT. Holy cow. The DDT sent Mike Von Erich down and down hard. Kerry smashes Jake the Snake. He falls over Mike. Look out. Hey, the Von Erichs have won it. The Von Erichs have won it. Kevin on Chris Adams, it's mayhem, but the Von Erichs have won it.
The winners in 14 minutes and 10 seconds and new World Six-Man Tag Team Champions, the Von Erichs.
The Von Erichs have won it. Jake the Snake could not stand prosperity. Got nailed. Mike got on top for the 1, 2, 3, and there are your winners in the ring. Gary Hart and his team absolutely in a state of disbelief.
All right. So the Von Erichs grabbed those 6-man tag team belts. Jake, what did you think of that finish?
Sucked.
As I'm watching, I'm like, okay, I guess if Jake is gonna take a pinfall loss to Mike Von Erich, maybe that's the way where it's like Kerry interferes. But what do you feel sucked about it?
It just stunk. It stunk to high heaven. Is that the best way you can do it? A schoolboy? Oh my God.
Plus, it's like, I know that Kerry is famous for like his discus punch, but that was not a discus punch. He just punched you.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It's like I guess it's an okay way for you to put Mike over, but man, it's left a little bit to be desired there on New Year's Eve.
There was a lot
Uh,
more that should have been done.
yeah, I think so, especially in front of a crowd that's that hot. Man, it's a missed opportunity.
It was.
Well, speaking of finishes, Jake, you are going to finish up with WCCW in the spring of 1985, and this would mark really your kind of last big high-profile match in the territory. What can you tell us about deciding to leave the company and making your arrangements to return to Mid-South?
I just couldn't afford to stay any longer, man. The money was so bad that it was crazy to stay. So I got on the phone to Bill Watts, and they said, sure, come on over.
So simple as that. You're back up to Mid-South. At this time, your relationship with Watts, I take it, was not terrible.
Wasn't terrible, no, not at the time.
Okay. Now, I mean, there's another element here, and that's it. Again, you have a wife and kids. Were you and Cheryl living in Dallas at this time?
Yeah, we were living in Denton, Texas, about 30 miles out of Dallas.
Okay, so I know that you guys had originally lived together in Georgia. So whenever you got the opportunity in Dallas, you packed her up and the kids, moved to Dallas, and now you're telling her like, "Hey, got to move again."
Yeah. We had no children at the time.
Oh, okay. I thought you had your kids.
No, she got pregnant when I went into Mid-South.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that does make it a little bit easier. So yeah, it's. I mean, do you remember if you had a house in Denton or were you guys renting?
It was an apartment.
Okay. Well, that simplifies things a little bit. No kid. You're not trying to sell a house. You can just go.
Right.
Okay. Well, Jake, let's get to the part that I know a lot of fans are going to want to hear about. You suffered 2 high-profile pinfall losses to Mike Von Erich here, who Fritz was trying to introduce to the audience to just get him over with that local crowd the way that he had with his other sons. How did you feel about putting the younger, smaller Von Erich over in general?
Oh, it sucked. It was just wrong. There was no sense in that happening. I understand you're trying to get him over, but don't try to get him over with the iron claw.
Mm-hmm.
Do something else. But they all wanted to be so strong. They didn't want to sell anything. So there goes the problem.
Frustrating, and not exactly fair to Mike. I don't think either at this point in his career, where he's brand new and he's getting put in these spots. And I mean, look, it's pretty much unanimous among fans. Like, the best of the Von Erichs is David, the worst is Mike, and that's kind of what everybody has to say about it, including other workers. I don't know if it's fair because Mike was so new, but I don't know. What was your take, Jake?
Yeah, it was totally unfair, man. But what is fair in wrestling? Lost his son. Looks pretty good, don't he?
He was certainly programmed to look that way. But if I remember right, Jake, at one point you had told me that he was sort of forced into wrestling.
Yeah, I don't think he really wanted to do wrestling, man. That's the way I heard it. He wanted him to do it. Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah, the rumor I've heard was that he wanted to work in the industry, but he wanted to be like a cameraman. He wasn't actually interested in stepping into the ring.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard too.
Well, most people listening to this are going to know the tragic story of the Von Erich, so I won't get into all of that. I mentioned earlier that we've got a YouTube exclusive episode that's going to be made available later this week with myself and Baby Doll, and she mentioned an instance where there was a huge storm outside of an arena one day with lightning crashing pretty constantly, and Kerry ran out into the storm and held on to a metal flagpole. We've also heard Bret Hart talk about Kerry referencing suicide during their conversations in the WWF. Jake, did you ever witness any of this red flag behavior from Kerry?
I didn't witness any of it. I hear about it afterwards.
Now, do you happen to remember that? Because Baby Doll was only in the territory while you were there. Do you happen to remember this instance where he's grabbing a flagpole in a storm?
Sure didn't. I sure didn't hear about it.
Man, it's scary and sad to be sure, and it goes on to get more sad for Kerry. He's going to lose his foot in a motorcycle accident, and he's going to be working with a prosthetic by the time he makes it back up to the WWF where you are. Apparently he was pretty guarded about showing his prosthetic and would allegedly shower with a boot on. Did you ever see any of that?
Yeah, he wouldn't take it off.
I mean, sad that, here's Kerry. It's this incredible physical specimen and he's kind of hobbled, but I mean, did you feel like it limited him in the ring? He still seemed like he could do stuff.
He could do anything he wanted in the ring.
Pretty impressive. I mean, for anybody to be able to work in a ring with a prosthetic on. Did you get to spend a lot of time with Kerry during his WWF run?
A little.
Would you call him a friend?
I wasn't that close.
Okay. So it's friendly, but not your friend.
Right.
Do you think that Vince could have done more with him, or did he get all that he could out of Kerry at that stage?
I think he got all he could out of Kerry at that stage.
Between the leg and the addiction, it's like, man, Vince putting the Intercontinental title on him feels like a bit of a reach to me. So it's, it sounds like he did his best.
Yeah, Vince tried, but it didn't work.
Well, last question before we put a pin in the WCCW subject for good. Jake, the Von Erich family story is certainly tragic, but do you feel like the tragedy is their legacy, or was their footprint in wrestling bigger than the stuff that happened outside of the ring?
I don't know how it couldn't be their legacy. To lose 3 sons, all suicides, it just doesn't get it.
Man, it's awful, and it's hard to go back and watch the dark side of the ring. I know it's going to be hard to see the Iron Claw movie, with all that tragedy and the way it's going to be played up on screen. Silver lining, Kevin Von Erich has turned everything around, and now his sons are both working for MLW, and I think that they're actually going to be coming to make an appearance for AEW here coming up in Dallas. Jake, do you feel like there's still a place for the Von Erichs in pro wrestling?
I think there's a place if somebody wants to use them, but it'll never be what it was.
Yeah, going to be hard to recapture that magic, and certainly with all the publicity on all the tragic things that have happened to the family. Jake, I appreciate you talking to me about WCCW. I know it's not your favorite time from your career, and certainly the story of the Von Erichs is not fun to talk about, but it's a part of your career that doesn't get covered very often, and I feel like we did a pretty good job of it. Do you feel like I missed anything?
No, I think you covered it, man.
Good. Well, look, it's been fun, and we're gonna have more fun next week here on the show. Certainly we're gonna have a fun subject for everybody, and Jake, I'll catch you down the road.
All right, see you next week.
Guys, if you're looking to attract that 25 to 54-year-old male demographic to your product or service, why haven't you gone to advertisewithsnake.com yet? Jake is still a legitimate household name. He's over like Rover. He's on AEW TV. I mean, those are all the elements you need for a successful ad campaign, and we've got them, and we're going to be able to target the exact audience that you need. If you need evidence that it works, just listen to our show. We are always advertising for the same businesses because once they advertise with us, they realize that the stuff that we do works. Head to advertisewithsnake.com and team up with the Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts. JakeTheSnakeShop.com is your destination for rare signed collectibles straight from the man himself. Autograph figures, shirts, 8x10s, and much more. If you're a collector, seriously, this website is like heaven. There's a little something for everybody. Maybe you've got a little extra holiday cash on you and you're looking to spend it to enhance your wrestling collection. This is the spot. Go right now to JakeTheSnakeShop.com. Add a brand new centerpiece to your wrestling collection. You guys have got to get over to cameo.com/JakeSnake to get a personal message from the Hall of Famer himself. Here's a review from Anonymous. It's been a while since I first watched the cameo you sent me. You've been an inspiration to stay clean. I want to keep it going. I was in a bad place when I asked for your help and didn't give you much info about myself. I'm 28, big fan of wrestling. I'm from Newcastle, England, and I just want to thank you for sending me that personalized video. I watched your journey from bottom to top to bottom and back up again. You're a hero. You save people like me, people you don't even know. Thank you, Jake. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, guys. Jake is out here as living proof of what perseverance is, and he can pass that message on to you if you need a little help and inspiration, or if you're just looking to get a holiday message, if you want some birthday wishes, or if you just want Jake to cut a promo on you or roast you or whatever you're looking for. Jake does it, and he does it better than pretty much anybody else on Cameo. Go look at the other reviews if you don't believe me. Jake is awesome at this, and if you're a lifelong fan, you've got to get a Cameo from him. Again, it's cameo.com/JakeSnake. Go and order yours right now. Winter is here. It's getting cold, but we've got you covered on the Snake Pit page at boxofgimmicks.com. We've got a great selection of mugs for your hot cocoa or cider or coffee or whatever you're looking for. And better yet, we've got some awesome stylish hoodies and sweatshirts to help you fight that cold weather. We've also got some Snake Pit wrapping paper, a Santa hat, and even a Jake the Snake ornament. Everything you need, and you're going to love the throwback style we have. And it's a really great way to support our show. Again, that's the Snake Pit page at boxofgimmicks.com. Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/@SnakePitPod for short clips from our show, highlights, and some exclusive content. As I mentioned, guys, we've got that YouTube exclusive episode to give even more of the story behind WCCW featuring Baby Doll, and it's coming out here this Friday. Do not miss it. I'm telling you, she tells some great stories. She gives insight like nobody you've ever heard, and it's really going to make for an awesome complimentary piece to what we did here today. We also recently did a giveaway for subscribers over there, and we're going to continue to do those occasionally, so don't miss out. Like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell there right now. Again, it's youtube.com/@SnakePitPod. Also, if you've enjoyed our podcast, please do Jake and I a favor. It takes you just a minute and makes a huge difference for Jake and I. Like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're using. That helps Jake and I out with advertisers and helps us to keep this show going. Just a reminder, you can get the Snake Pit and all the other shows in our network early and ad-free at adfreeshows.com. It starts at just $9 a month, which if you do the math, that is less than 15 cents an episode each month. Plus, there's tons of bonus content. You get interactive chats with your favorite hosts and wrestling personalities and much more. By the way, we just dropped another mailbag edition of the Hacksaw Hour over there, and Jim is taking questions from ad-free shows members like only he can. He is hilarious. He's such a character, and he's got unbelievable insight in wrestling after nearly 50 years in the business. Go and check it out now. Head over to adfreeshows.com today and get signed up. Catch Jake on X at JakeSnakeDDT, on Instagram at JakeTheSnakeDDT, and on Facebook at Real Jake the Snake. You can follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo on X, and you can follow the podcast at Snake Pit Pod on all social media platforms. Guys, this was an absolute blast looking back to Jake's days in WCCW. I mean, really a part of his career that barely gets talked about ever. And we're going to look to continue that here coming up on the show with parts of Jake's career that, don't get talked about often enough, while also sprinkling in some WWF stuff and things that, we're all familiar with. I want to tell the whole story about Jake and his history, and we're doing it right here on the Snake Pit.